Most people never finish. Everybody starts. Everybody's got a dream, a vision, a goal, an idea that lights their soul on fire. They post about it. They talk about it. They tell their friends, their parents, their followers. They make plans. They get hyped. They swear this time it's different. And maybe for a few days they go all in. They wake up early. They grind. But then the excitement fades. Reality hits. The work gets heavy. The path gets dark. And they realize this journey doesn't hand out trophies for trying. There are no shortcuts. There are no guarantees. Just work, pain, discipline, sacrifice. And that's where most people fold. They stop. They quit. They pivot. They convince themselves it wasn't meant to be, but not you, because this isn't about hype anymore. This isn't about motivation. This is about commitment. It's about war. It's about going to battle with your own excuses and walking out the other side with your head high, your soul scarred, and your mission complete. This is about the fire you build in silence, the discipline you forge in the dark, the obsession that keeps you up at night when everyone else is sleeping. You don't quit. You don't flinch. You don't leave things unfinished. You don't need a mood to do what has to be done. You just do it. Because men like you, men who are cut from a different cloth, they understand. If you start something, you finish it. No matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets, no matter who doubts you or how many storms hit, you finish what you start. That's the difference between a boy with dreams and a man on a mission. That's the difference between average and unforgettable. The world only respects the finishers. Let's get this clear from the start. The world doesn't remember almosts. Nobody cares about the guy who almost made it. Nobody writes books about the guy who was just one step away from success. Nobody builds statues for the man who almost crossed the finish line. You can't hang your hat on "I tried," because that's the story of every man who was too weak to push through. What does the world really remember? The finisher, the one who started and saw it through, the one who refused to quit when it was too hard, too painful, or too lonely, the one who put in the work when others were sleeping. Here's the truth. No one respects someone who doesn't finish. Not your friends, not your family, not the world. Because when you quit halfway, you're telling everyone around you, "I'm not built for greatness," and they believe it. They don't see your potential. They see the half-done projects, the unfinished business, the excuses piled up like bricks in a wall, blocking you from ever reaching your true potential. But the finishers, those are the legends. Those are the ones who write their own stories. They might have started weak, they might have stumbled, but they kept their eyes on the end goal, and they finished. And finishing doesn't just mean crossing the line. Finishing means building the character, training the mind, testing the limits, and still going when every part of you wants to stop. Let me tell you something. In this world, there are two kinds of men. The guy who talks big but never backs it up, and the guy who doesn't waste words. He shows up, puts in the work, and gets it done. Which one do you want to be? Every time you quit halfway, you're training yourself to lose. You're telling your mind, it's okay to stop. It's okay to give up. You're reinforcing the habit of failure, one decision at a time. You're giving yourself an out, a weakness to lean on. But every time you push through when you don't feel like it, when your body's screaming at you to stop, when your mind is telling you you've done enough, you're forging a mindset that can't be broken. Every ounce of sweat, every ounce of pain, every ounce of discomfort is fuel for your journey. It's the raw material of greatness. Because the real strength doesn't come from the body, it comes from the mind. It's the discipline you build when you keep showing up, even when you're not in the mood. It's the mental toughness that makes you immune to doubt, fear, and weakness. And discipline, that's what makes men powerful. That's what builds empires. That's what forges the legacies that outlast lifetimes. Discipline is a beast, and once you tame it, it doesn't just change you, it transforms everything around you. Think about it. The greatest warriors didn't start with natural talent. The greatest athletes weren't born perfect. The richest men didn't inherit everything. They earned it. They pushed through when everyone else quit. They finished what they started. And here's what you need to realize. Finishing isn't just about completing a task. It's about becoming the man who doesn't quit. It's about developing the unshakable conviction that you are unstoppable. When you finish something, you're building more than just your results. You're building the character that makes you the type of man people follow. The type of man who doesn't need motivation to keep going because it's hardwired into his DNA. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. It doesn't matter how many times life tries to knock you down. What matters is that you get back up, that you finish, because the ones who finish are the ones who control their destiny. The ones who finish are the ones who take over. You've got to understand this. Every time you push through the pain, every time you continue even when you want to quit, you're building something that cannot be destroyed. You're becoming something most men will never be. You're becoming unstoppable. The world doesn't care how you start, it only cares about how you finish. Because finishing proves something that words can't. You were built for this. You had the strength, the resilience, the heart to keep going when everyone else was too weak. You didn't stop, you didn't give in. And that's the kind of man who changes the world. So when the next challenge comes, when you're on the edge of quitting, ask yourself, are you a man who quits halfway, or are you the one who finishes? Because the only man who ever earns respect is the man who finishes. Finish what you start every time. And remember, in a world full of starters, only the finishers make history. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. Most people never make it to the finish line. Not because they weren't smart, not because they weren't talented, not because they didn't want it, but because they were too damn worried about getting it perfect. They overanalyze, they question themselves, they keep tweaking, fixing, adjusting, and the dream they had, the vision they believed in, the goal they once burned for, it dies. Not with a crash, not with a bang, but slowly, in silence, buried under layers of hesitation, fear, and the illusion of perfection. You know what that is? That's a mental prison. You get so wrapped up in making it just right that you never get it done at all. And here's the truth nobody likes to say out loud. Perfect doesn't exist. There's no perfect time, no perfect plan, no perfect version of you that'll magically show up one day and make it easy. You want to change your life? You want to build something great? You want to step into the man you could be? Then let go of perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be done. Because done is what moves the needle. Done is what separates talkers from doers. Done is what makes the difference between average and unstoppable. The guys who make it, they're not always the smartest, they're not always the most talented, but they're the ones who move. They take action, they fail, they learn, they adapt, and they finish. You know what finishing does? It builds power. Not just results, not just rewards, personal power, internal pride, real confidence. The kind of confidence that comes from keeping your word, from pushing through even when it's ugly, from getting to the other side even when you didn't feel like it. That's how you grow. That's how you earn respect, not just from others, but from yourself. And that's the most powerful kind of respect there is. You can read every book, watch every video, study every strategy, but if you don't learn to finish, none of it means anything. You'll be the guy with great ideas that never see the light of day. You'll be the guy who used to work on something. You'll be the guy who had potential. And guess what? Nobody respects potential that never performs. The world respects results, and results come from one thing: following through. Not just when it's exciting, not just when you feel motivated, but when it's boring. when it's uncomfortable, when it's messy, when nobody is clapping, when you feel like quitting, but you finish anyway. That's what separates you from the pack. You don't need perfect. You need grit. You need action. You need to shut down the overthinking and just go. That idea you're sitting on, that project you started, that goal you wrote down 3 months ago, finish it. Even if it's rough, even if it's awkward, even if you don't feel ready. Because finishing builds momentum, and momentum turns men into machines. When you start finishing things, even small things, your mind changes, your identity changes. You stop calling yourself a dreamer, and you start walking like a doer. You stop being scared of hard things because you faced them and finished anyway. So no, it's not about making it perfect. That's a trap. That's where weak men get stuck. They chase polish, they chase applause, they chase image. But you chase execution. You chase consistency. You chase the win, not the look of the win. You don't wait for the perfect plan. You pick a direction. You move. You figure it out while swinging, because you'd rather fail trying than rot standing still. So here's the call. Finish the set. Finish the business. Finish the damn mission. Nobody gets stronger by quitting halfway. Nobody builds anything by waiting for flawless conditions. You finish, then you fix, then you grow. Over and over. That's how you level up. That's how you become the man people can count on. That's how you build a mindset that doesn't need motivation because you've got discipline. You finish what you start because that's who you are now. So burn this into your mind. Done is better than perfect, always, every time. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. There's no backup plan. There's no safety net. There's no cavalry charging in to save the day. There's no secret mentor waiting in the shadows to pull you up. There's no miracle lined up with your name on it. Nobody's coming to save you. Not your friends, not your parents, not your coach, not your girlfriend, not your boss, not the algorithm, not God himself handing you a shortcut. You're it. You are the plan. You are the solution. You are the hammer and the forge, the builder and the blueprint. You are the difference between staying ordinary and becoming unstoppable. It's all on you. Nobody's coming to wake you up when you hit snooze for the 3rd time. Nobody's checking in to see if you kept your promises. Nobody's going to hold your hand through the darkness. Nobody's going to drag you across the finish line. This is your burden, your duty, your fire to ignite. And listen to me, no one's doing your push-ups. No one's grinding through your sleepless nights. No one's standing in the cold with you when the dream feels 1,000,000 miles away. No one's bleeding, sweating, and sacrificing for your vision except you. This is your mountain, your battlefield, your empire to build from dirt and dust. And every single time you hesitate, every time you look for comfort instead of challenge, every time you lie to yourself and call it rest, you're building a habit of weakness. You're teaching your brain that quitting is okay. You're telling your future you're not worth the pain. That's not just laziness, that's self-betrayal. You said you wanted this. You said you were all in. You said, this is who I'm becoming. So where are you now? Where's that hunger? Where's that locked-in focus? Where's that fire that said, I'd rather die chasing greatness than live safe in mediocrity? You're tired? Good. That means you're doing something. That means you're in the arena. That means you're pushing the limits of who you are. So keep going. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it when it burns. Do it when nobody claps. Do it when you doubt yourself. Do it when it's just you, your shadow, and your silence. If you quit now, you're not just giving up on a goal. You're training your spirit to fold every time life punches you in the mouth. You're showing your soul that pressure breaks you instead of builds you. You're turning into a man whose word means nothing, not even to himself. And there is nothing more dangerous than a man who doesn't trust his own voice, because that man walks this earth with a mask on. He talks tough, but he folds under pressure. He looks the part, but inside he's hollow, soft, scared. Don't be that man. Be the one who shows up when it's ugly. Be the one who stands tall when it's lonely. Be the one who carries his own cross without applause. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how loud you talk. It's about how hard you hit back when life tries to break you. That's what builds character. That's what builds legacy. That's what builds men. You build a reputation with yourself every single day. One that either screams, "I'm a warrior, I do what I said I'd do," or whispers, "I'm just pretending, I fold when it gets hard." So ask yourself, what kind of man are you becoming? Because life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're willing to suffer for, to fight for, to bleed for. And if you think someone's going to come and hand it to you, you're already losing. This world doesn't reward intentions. It rewards execution. It doesn't pay for potential, it pays for results. You weren't built to be soft. You weren't built to blend in. You weren't built to sit in the passenger seat of your own life. You were built to lead, to build, to dominate, to conquer. So rise up, wipe your tears, stand your ground, clench your fists, grit your teeth, and tell yourself the truth. Nobody's coming, but I am. Nobody believes in me, but I do. Nobody's saving me, but I don't need saving. I was built for war, because this is war, a war against weakness, a war against excuses, a war against the man you used to be. And you don't win that war by waiting, you win it by going all in. Earn it, bleed for it, sweat for it, hurt for it, fight like hell for it, because this is your life, this is your destiny, and no one's gonna hand it to you. So don't just talk about it, don't just dream about it, finish what you start, because anyone can begin, but only the strong finish. The quitters fade, the lazy stall, the weak make excuses, but you're built different. You stay locked in, you stay hungry, you grind when it's boring, you push when it's painful, you finish even when nobody's watching. That's what separates the men from the boys. So whatever it is, your workout, your goal, your vision, don't stop halfway. Don't fold under pressure, push through all the way. Now go out there and earn your respect. Not just by starting something, but by finishing it like a savage, like a man on a mission. If this hit you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're one of the real ones who stayed till the end, drop "finish strong" in the comments so I know who's built for this. Let's keep raising the bar. No excuses, just results. I'll see you in the next one.